You want it to be one way.
What?
You want it to be one way.
Man, I don't
You
know
want it
what
to
you...
be one
Man,
way.
stop! Stop saying that.
But it's the other way.
Well, this past weekend, we had a event with Virgil Ortiz, who was making his debut return at 154 pounds for the first time. Really didn't fight at 154 pounds, fought at 156, but you guys get the drift. But although there were fights on the card, there were fights outside of the card that potentially happened as well that garnered a lot of attention. Well, when Benard Hopkins decided to go ahead and approach Bill Haney in the midst of an interview that Bill Haney was doing, to confront him and ask him politely and respectfully to meet him in the bathroom to discuss some man talk. Needless to say, Bill Haney was caught a little off guard, but respect to Bill Haney for reacting to the situation accordingly, not losing his cool, and keeping control over the situation so it didn't get too far out of control. But regardless, Benard Hopkins, once again, is showing some immaturity, lack of control, and this thirsty hunger to want to be in front of the camera and act out for reasons that have nothing to do with promoting Golden Boy or the fighters that are underneath the Golden Boy banner. I mean, at the end of the day, you have a certain amount of prestige, and you're a Hall of Famer, you're expected to carry yourself a certain way. But regardless, it's a lot to unpack in just a few seconds describing the situation. But you know what we're going to do. It's your boy Claymore Rain. This is the ATP Combat Media Show. Let's go. What up with it? What's going on? It's your boy Claymore Rain. This is the ATP Combat Media Show. Welcome one, welcome all. What's going on, my people? It is the community, and if this is your first time watching this video, I do invite you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that bell icon as well so you get all these alerts when we're dropping this content. Benard Hopkins, Bill Haney, at the Virgil Ortiz event this past weekend. Really didn't get an opportunity to really build on this topic the way I wanted to. Wanted to give a little bit of a reaction to what I saw, and, you know, just adding on to this legacy of Golden Boy Promotions at this point being affiliated with Benard Hopkins. Now, as you guys all know and are aware of, Bill Haney is the manager of Devin Haney, the current super lightweight WBC champion, former undisputed lightweight champion of the world. And Bill Haney's job is to promote his fighter, who happens to also be his son, and be about DHP, Devin Haney Promotion business. So it's only natural that an event going on in Nevada, where Bill Haney resides, that Bill Haney would show up to the event. Although it's a Golden Boy promotion event, he would show up to the event to support the fighters that are there and to also show presence for the company and the fighter that he does represent, as he is in the midst of actually closing out on one negotiation for Devin Haney, which was going on with Ryan Garcia, and maybe potentially looking at other possible opportunities at one of these events to see if there's a fighter that would garner the attention or garner the right to maybe get a fight with Devin Haney. Well, there at the fight, at the end of the fight, Bill Haney is answering questions for a reporter there, or a content creator, whichever one you want to call it. And as he's doing the interview, Benard Hopkins creeps in, does a little bit of a camera bombing, right? Bombs in on the video to whisper in Bill Haney's ear to have Bill Haney meet him in the bathroom for some man talk. Pause. Well, at the end of the day, Bill Haney definitely being caught off guard, but once he got a hold of himself and gathered as to what the situation was going on, he pretty much had no issues with confronting Benard Hopkins, letting him know that he's representing the best fight in the world, and basically telling Benard Hopkins, fight where you're mad at, complain or argue or confront the situation where the situation's happening. We're grown men. We're not meeting in the bathroom. Now, ultimately, though, as it was carrying on, it looks like Bill Haney did decide, change his mind that he would follow Benard Hopkins to wherever he was trying to go to. And it looks like Benard Hopkins had some understanding at some point during that process that maybe Bill wasn't alone, or maybe he wasn't home. This is not Philly. This is not California. This is actually Nevada, stomping grounds to Bill Haney and his team, and the people who have vested interest in his safety would possibly have some attention, or want to have some interest, should I say, in Bill Haney being safe and healthy. So he changed his mind, to say the least. So what do I think about the situation? Well, respectfully, this right here actually extends from a situation that I've been seeing a pattern of for the past year or two. Yeah, I would say year or two in Benard Hopkins, and which is Benard Hopkins' inability to understand that he's not the one promoting himself in there, that he's actually there representing a huge company, a world-recognized promotional company, and that he's a Hall of Famer, and that he's there representing fighters, and it's supposed to be showing Golden Boy to be ahead of the curve and potentially even showing some qualities that would be attractive to fighters, for fighters who would maybe be interested in fighting in Golden Boy promotion. And once again, he's put all that I just said to the back burner, and he's put himself in front of a camera and made his priority his voice being heard and him being respected and him being part of the whole entire festivity going on. Now, we can take this as far back as, and I can go further back, but I'll do it more recent, just so that for casual fans and people who might not be following this as close can still get some perspective on what I'm talking about. If you guys remember, during the Gervonta Tank Davis fight, during the weigh-ins, Benard Hopkins had stuck himself in between Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis and got to a point to where he was actually physically touching Gervonta Tank Davis, where Calvin Ford had to warn Benard Hopkins to keep his hands to himself and remind him that there was no reason for him to be touching Gervonta Tank Davis. And, of course, we can see the video where Gervonta Tank Davis actually has a confrontation with Benard Hopkins, where the attention Gervonta Tank Davis had should have been focused exclusively on Ryan Garcia, was actually focused on explaining to Benard Hopkins that the way he was acting up there was unacceptable. Now, once again, Benard Hopkins on that stage, remembering that he used to be a boxer, a champion, an undisputed champion, and used to being the center of attention when he is on that stage, seems like he was having some flashbacks as to when he was the star and wanted to put himself in a situation to where he would be the one that everybody talked about, which did nothing to benefit Ryan Garcia, right? Ryan Garcia having to grab Gervonta Tank Davis, bring his attention back to him and say, listen, don't worry about him. It's me and you. We got to fight tomorrow. Don't worry about him. And they looked like they ultimately also had to escort Benard Hopkins off of that stage, or at least off of the camera, off the view at that point for that one. Now, we fast forward a few weeks ago. Well, what is it? Maybe a little over a month ago. This is around, once again, the Ryan Garcia fight at the press conference, where Benard Hopkins is calling out, pretty much sound like he was calling out Ryan Garcia, or I don't know, you take it for what you want to take it, but basically this is when he went into his whole speech about boxing will expose you, right? And having side interviews saying that he's not going to promote Ryan Garcia as if he's a champion, because he's not a champion. And also having a specific situation that I made a video over, when Benard Hopkins pulled Arnold Barboza, who was actually debuting his fight that night at 140 pounds on that Virgil Ortiz card. And congratulations, by the way, to Arnold Barboza on a great victory there. But calling Arnold Barboza a prospect, saying that he had to show and prove to the world that he was deserving of contender accolades. Well, when we think about Arnold Barboza being 140-pound, #1 ranked WBO to fight against Teofimo Lopez for the WBO title, for him to call him a prospect just showed a little bit of detachment. It showed that he really wasn't present in the company or understanding about all the fighters' history that he was promoting. And it looks like, to be honest with you, he made a mistake, that he misspoke. He really didn't know who Arnold Barboza was, except for that Arnold Barboza was a new fighter underneath the Golden Boy promotion banner. So fast forward again to the most recent event now, where Bill Haney, who's probably expressed some interest, or however you'd like to look at it, just express some opinions on the way he saw Ryan Garcia and just the Golden Boy promotion situation being handled, the way it was just developing. And it seems like a lot of things going on underneath the Golden Boy promotion company is kind of unraveling to a degree. Well, Benard Hopkins took an opportunity when he saw Bill Haney to approach him and confront him on it, and not confront him in a way to where he verbally is confronting him on how he felt, but took it back to, I mean, honestly, prison rules. I mean, how many of you guys are walking around and having problems with people and asking them to meet you in the bathroom? This is something that happens in prison because you're trying to do something without the CO seeing you. You're trying not to get locked up for it or in trouble for fighting. So you go to the bathroom where there's no cameras and fights can happen and we can move on with our day. So Benard Hopkins, if you guys don't know, does have a history. He was in prison. He was incarcerated for a certain amount of time. And that was a very long time ago, before his professional career, that long ago. But ultimately, asking Bill Haney to go to the bathroom to handle any type of situation was just, it was a shame. It was an embarrassment to Golden Boy as a promotional company. It was an embarrassment to himself. It was embarrassment to the community, the African-American community, exclusively who I'm speaking about, just kind of showing that no matter how high prestige that somebody gets, and no matter how much, power a person has that they can wield, that to his core, he seems to be unable to get past a chapter in his life to where he had to have that survival instinct and willingness to do something like follow somebody or have somebody follow him to the bathroom to handle some quote unquote man business. But more importantly, I think, was Benard Hopkins once again showing his lack of control over his own emotions and his inability to walk by a camera and not be in the camera and be expressing himself in some sort of way. That has nothing to do, very rarely has nothing to do with promoting the fighters that are under his promotional banner, Golden Boy Promotion, to where he's a partner of, at least. Because I would say Oscar De La Hoya, from the outside looking in, is probably the bigger deal, but being especially that it's named Golden Boy Promotion right after him. But at the same time, everybody understands that Benard Hopkins has a large percentage ownership in that company and has a lot of vested interest in that company doing well. To see him go in that direction and just, in my opinion, I got to call cap on the whole situation, saying that you don't want it to be on the internet, you want it to be in the bathroom, but you're confronting Bill Haney right there on camera, right there in front of the internet, asking him to go to the bathroom. Everything that happened at that event that we're talking about right now happened on the internet. So there's a little bit of hypocrisy in stating that that's the way you wanted to move, but in actuality moved the complete opposite direction and did everything on the internet. And the boxing skills of Benard Hopkins has never been in question. He's a legend. The man went to Hall of Fame for being one of the best boxers the middleweight division has ever seen. But ultimately, moving in that direction with that energy just brought a black cloud over Benard Hopkins again. Just not looking good, looking out of pocket, just, looking like he wants to take advantage or bully potentially Bill Haney. And just for the record's sake, respectfully speaking, nobody's trying to give Benard Hopkins no fair one to go in the bathroom and give him a fair one. I'm sure Bill Haney's quite conscious and aware of his abilities, the limitations to his abilities. And fighting Benard Hopkins, I'm sure, is not something he's trying to test, but it doesn't mean that Benard Hopkins is going to get to punk him as well, because at the end of the day, it's not just about a fair fight at the end of the day, right? We'll just keep it at that. But Yeah, that's pretty much how I see it. I do see that Benard Hopkins has just been unraveling, in my opinion. I don't know what he really does for the fighters over there at Golden Boy. When it comes to Golden Boy business, it seems like the choice for any reporter or any journalist who's interested in what's going on with Golden Boy, it seems like they pretty much search out Oscar De La Hoya. Very rarely do I hear Benard Hopkins sharing anything that benefits the company. And it makes me just wonder, are they just, trying to capitalize off of his image? I mean, Oscar De La Hoya himself is a Hall of Fame fighter as well. So I'm not too sure what the whole angle is with Benard Hopkins, but I can tell you every dog has their day and everybody has a limit. Everybody has a limit, including Oscar De La Hoya. And if Benard Hopkins keeps moving in his trajectory to where he's causing scenes at his own promotional event, to where he's instigating actual physical confrontations, to where he's doing this on camera with no reservation, no acknowledgement of where he's at and how many cameras are on him, I think he is a liability, or becoming a liability, for Golden Boy Promotion at this point. I think just not knowing how to carry yourself, that's something you either got in you or you don't. You're raised right, or, you're raised to where it doesn't matter anywhere you feel like it, you're going to do what you do. And how does that promote a company like Golden Boy Promotion? Shout out to Oscar De La Hoya, who always maintains his sanity. Even if he's done something wrong or looks wrong, very rarely is he jumping into his bag that could lead to something that would embarrass himself or his company via physical confrontation, or even just slandering somebody in public, getting into some public argument, some spit and spat, some get back at each other type of situation. I've never seen him involved in that. But Benard Hopkins, on the other hand, seems as if he doesn't really have a hold onto that part of his life. And I think it could be a liability to the company. I mean, if you can imagine the next time Golden Boy does an event in Nevada and Vegas at that space that they were using, what if they say Benard Hopkins is not allowed on the stage or allowed in the building? Supposedly that happened to him when he was at the Ryan Garcia-Gervonta Tank Davis fight in a post conference. Supposedly he wasn't even allowed on the stage. He wasn't even allowed on the stage with Ryan Garcia. So it's safe to say that the powers that be have a pretty good idea of who Benard Hopkins is, and they kind of are, preemptively, proactively, right, moving in a direction to prevent anything from happening, because Benard Hopkins is becoming very unpredictable. So you guys tell me what you think. Leave a comment. Is Benard Hopkins good for boxing? Is he bringing anything to boxing that is benefiting the fighters? And this goes under the conversations of all the fighters who are turning fighter to promoter. What are these guys really producing out here? Even Floyd Mayweather. I always have to give respect to Floyd Mayweather. To me, he is TBE. He's one of the best ever. He's in that conversation. But in this promotional game, in this taking fighters and starting with them from the bottom and building them up, is he really the one doing that? Because his company does that from time to time. Leonard Ellaby, I'm sure, does that. Al Heyman for sure does that. But what is Floyd Mayweather really doing for his fighters? Trying to steal their limelight? Can they put themselves to the side and allow the fighters to come to the front and get their just due? I've seen many situations where even Floyd Mayweather has fallen victim to that, seem to have an inability to play his position in the background for the first time in his career, and allow the fighters to take the foreground and get their just due accolades, especially in victory, right? So tell me, you guys, what do you think? Leave a comment. Is Benard Hopkins, forget about Floyd, is Benard Hopkins good for boxing? Is he good for Golden Boy Promotions? Is he bringing and adding and bringing to the table when we're talking about actually cultivating fighters and bringing fighters up from the bottom to the top and bringing them to their highest paydays and to championship status, helping them fulfill their money aspirations as well as their legacy aspirations at the same time? Or at this point, seeing how he's been moving, is he in the way quite a bit? You guys let me know. It's your boy Claymore Rain. This is the ATP Combat Media Show. And guys, remember, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that bell icon, like I said, so you get all the content when it comes out. And on that note, at this point, we out.
Elevate, elevate, elevate. Yeah, they hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out. Yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment. I swear I could levitate.